Oh, this clip that I'm about to play. We're at 34 minutes, 12 seconds, episode 1937 with Punkie Johnson on the JRE. Whew, I said that well. I'm getting good at this. I'm getting good at this, all right? I gotta infuse myself with a little bit of confidence sometimes. But that came out well. Anyway, I ruined it. But this clip is about narcissists in Hollywood. Very fitting that I just gave myself that pat on the back and now I'm talking about narcissists. Very fitting. But they're talking about narcissists and how, like, in Hollywood you can't truly express who you are, and that's so true. And again, I talked about this before. 5-10 years ago, it was just Hollywood who couldn't truly express who they are, right? Because they were in the public eye. Nowadays, it's like it's everybody. Everybody has this thing where they can't actually say what they feel, It's really, really weird. And I actually have a story about that when I was working in film and television. You won't believe this story. It actually involves Jordan Peterson. Watch to the end to find out. Let's get into the clip.
That in New York.
I think there's a lot of places you could do that.
Well, what the thing is like, if you what I mean is, if you do it in New York, I don't think it matters, because people in New York, they just have this sense, they just know the tip.
Right.
They just know to show love.
It's an East Coast thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in the East Coast are tippers.
I like that about these. I love the East Coast. I don't think I'm going back to the West Coast.
I think the problem with the West Coast is too many people are trying to be famous. And when you get too many people trying to be famous, you have like a high percentage of narcissists and a high percentage of sociopaths. I don't know. I don't mean it's like all of them, but it's like, what's the average, the percentage of sociopaths? I think they say it's like 10% or something like that, or 4%.
That's it?
I don't know how.
I feel like it's way more.
I don't know how they really know. They do it based on a sample size. I don't know if they really know the actual numbers, but that's the estimate, right? And if you go to a place like Hollywood, you got to imagine that most of the people that go there, the people that move there, they move there to either be a part of the business, like to be a producer or a director or something, or they want to be in front of the camera, or they want to be famous. They don't even know how,
right.
And they'll try to figure out a thing. Like, you've seen people they go from acting, and then they're acting for a while, and then they say, I'm going to do stand up. We've seen a lot of those, right? And then but they don't really love stand up. What they really love is getting attention. They got broken when they were younger. They have a hole inside of them that they need to constantly fill up with other people's attention. And they'll pretend to be someone to get attention. Yeah. Which is the fucked up thing about auditioning. Because you take a person who's like super insecure, wants to come to Hollywood for validation, and then you have this process where you have to beg people to like you. You have to go in there and put on your best show, and hope these people like you, which completely changes the way people behave. Because those people that are so desperate for success or really want to make it, they start behaving and thinking in a way that they think is going to get them successful in their business. And they can't express unique or individual opinions on things. They can't have controversial views. You're not allowed to. You won't get a gig. And so you have all these people that just... they become like this sort of Hollywood ideology espousers. They just become these people that talk the same way. Like, you see them, they say, like, when they see you, they don't say, "Nice to meet you, Punkie." They say, "Good to see you." Good to see you, because maybe they've seen you already. Maybe they forgot, right? So instead of like just saying, "Nice to meet you," "Oh, we met." "Oh, I'm sorry, when did we meet?" Instead of having a real moment, it's "Good to see you." Everything's good to see you. It's fucking weird. Because they're like little robots. Like, who the fuck says "good to see you"? If like you brought a friend over and the friend says, "Hi, this is my friend Punkie." "Hi, Punkie, good to see you." Good to see you. Like, what kind of weird people are you bringing over here? Yeah, what the fuck is going on? Good to see me. Yeah, it's good to see. Yeah, it's good to hear you too.
It's so crazy. I never thought about that.
Yeah. So that flavors the vibe of the city, because it's the #1 industry, or at least the most famous industry in Los Angeles is the television and film industry. And then, of course, the music business, which is kind of similar. I mean, when the record days and the radio days, when it was really important, you had to impress these people that were the record executives, and you had to impress these people who were the radio executives, because they would play your music. Right. And they would pick you. And there were so many people they could pick. and they would pick you, and they had these predatory relationships where they'd take an enormous amount of the money that you made, and that was the only way you're going to make it. How else are you going to make it? You got to go through the system.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who made it through, like Prince, had to change his fucking name because he couldn't perform under the name Prince. He had to use that crazy logo.
That's crazy.
It's crazy that he pulled it off, though.
Yeah.
He's like, I got an idea, bitch.
Well,
I'm
also,
so famous.
yeah,
Everybody
like,
knows who the fuck this is.
Also, it's like, I'm me.
And he did it before social media.
Yeah.
So, to what he was saying. So, to my story about this in Hollywood. So, I've worked in film and television, right? Okay. You know, Illuminati type stuff. Just kidding. Just kidding. Although the green rooms were always really weird and we had to sometimes set up green rooms and the things that they were asking for were always odd. Always. And then like way past like M&Ms and stuff like that. And like setting up people's trailers is like weird requests. But the story that I have is I remember I was on set and I actually got close to this guy. He was like just under the director, and I was talking. You know, I was just talking. I'm like this everywhere I go. Like I'm the same. I don't change from person to person to place. I just don't. It could be a bad quality. It could be a good quality. It depends where I go and how people react. You know. So I'm just being me, and I'm just talking. And I've just recently discovered Jordan Peterson. I think he's great. Yeah. Like, as you know, if you see my videos, I think he's great. So I started talking about him because this guy seems like he's on the level. You know, when you talk to someone and they seem like they're into Peterson, just like they seem like they've done mushrooms, just like they seem like they're into Joe Rogan. Like you talk to someone, you just get a vibe. So I bring up Jordan Peterson. I'm talking to him about it. And right away, he acts like I was just like, hey man, I have crack and I want to smoke it with you. But we're going to do it through our buttholes. That's how he reacted to what I said. When I was just like, yeah, you know, Jordan Peterson, he went, hey man. And he like pulled me aside. And I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? Like, he goes, he's like, I love Jordan. I love Jordan Peterson's work. I think he's great. He's like, but I can't, he's like, I can't talk about him here. I can't bring him. Like, we can't be heard talking about him here. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, it's like really bad. Just, you know, you don't want anybody to hear you talking about him. He's like, but I get it. He's like, I love it. It was like we were doing a drug deal all of a sudden. I was like, whoa. But he was very serious, and we talked afterwards, and he was like, listen, he's like, if the wrong person walked by and heard us talking about Jordan Peterson with glee and happiness, he's like, that could be it for me or even for you, because I was in a much lower position than him. He's like, that would be it. He's like, you gotta really watch that when you're in, you know, on set. I was just like, okay. I'm like, I did not realize that. But he was very serious. He was very fearful of like losing his job potentially over talking about Jordan Peterson. Just crazy. And like that just goes to what Joe was saying. It's like you don't get to truly be who you are. You have to have this different version of yourself, and that's probably why I didn't quite work out in the film industry. I mean, I still am a part of unions and stuff, but it's like I don't know. I don't go for it. You know, there are some other things that happened over the past 3 years. You know, that thing that happened. I can't really get into it, but I was on one side of it, and you know, that industry was on the other side of it. So I didn't continue. But by the grace of God, like the void was filled by other things. So it was good. But yeah, man, you don't get to truly be who you are. You really don't get to be who you really are. You don't get to talk about the things that are really important to you. You know, like when you guys see me wear that Soul Not For Sale shirt, like I made that shirt for that industry. Like I would wear that shirt when I was on set every day in case some weird stuff would happen. Straight up. I would make sure that people saw that beacon. And I had another one that said God first, just to, you know, also let people know, like, I'm not the one. I'm not the guy. Okay. It was a very odd industry. It's a very odd field to work in. Man, nuts. But then also If you were in a washroom and you found something like a drug, like a really hard drug, I don't even know if I can say the name, but if you found super hard drugs like in a washroom, that was like normal. But if you brought up Jordan Peterson, that was like not normal. Don't do that. It was very odd industry. But yeah, 100% he's right. You can't be who you truly are. And because of that, you never know who you're talking to. You never truly know who you're talking to. That's why when you look in Hollywood and you hear all the stories, there's all these dirtbags. Because everybody has to put on this mask. So a dirtbag gets to put on a mask too. And he just gets to be like, all right, I guess nobody knows what I'm going to try and do to these people. And that's the reason, like the reason that all of that type of stuff happens with these dirtbag types, you know, the Harvey Weinsteins and stuff like that, is because of the nature of the industry, which is that you have to put on this mask and you have to have this certain way of looking at the world, which is usually like pretty left leaning. It kind of does it to itself almost, because it's like, you know, if everybody was out in the open, you could spot those people and be like, hey, I'm seeing how you're behaving. But instead, if you see how somebody behaves and you call them on it, if that person's higher up than you, they get to turn to everybody else and go, this guy's kind of hard to work with. I don't know. Kind of difficult. I don't know. I just don't want to see him on set tomorrow. I'm just saying. And the next thing you know, you're out of a job. So it's like if people do see some misbehavior, they can't really call it out. They're not really in a position to. It's harder. It's harder than just pointing at somebody being like, I saw what you did. Wild industry. All right, I'm out.